everyone, welcome to DNA. Today our special guest is Gail Shen, and we are going to talk about what it's like to work in education. Welcome, Gail.
Thank you. Hello, everybody.
I'm so excited because I know Gail has been working in education space for different kind of roles in the past few years, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's right. I started out my first life, I call it, I was a teacher. So I taught for about 10 years in elementary school.
Wow.
Kindergarten, first grade, second grade, fifth grade. Went back to graduate school in international education. And from there, I've been working in the ed tech space, and now I work for a nonprofit that focuses on development of education all over the world.
Sounds so awesome. So you've been working in education space for the entirety of your career, right?
Yes, exactly. Learning is important. School is important. To me, when we talk about equity and when we talk about world development, education is power, especially for underserved populations. Women and just rural and all over the world. I think education is the one thing that empowers young children to kind of dream and become and be a part of our society. And that's, I think, one of the coolest things that I can do for somebody else. And if I could, I would sort of bring every child into quality education. That would be my dream. Oh gosh, where to start? I loved it. I absolutely loved it. People always ask me if I left teaching because I was burnt out or if I was tired, and I always say I was not, and I would stay in the classroom forever. But I sort of felt that it was my opportunity to be able to affect more schools and more students, which is why I chose to leave the classroom. But otherwise, I loved it because every single day you have no idea what to expect. You can make your lesson plans, you can have everything planned almost to the 15-minute increment, especially for young children because their attention span is about 10 to 15 minutes. And then you get into the classroom, and what I love about it is you're working with people, young people, but every single person is unique. Every child is sort of has a past, a story, is coming in with different emotions and things that they've experienced. Being able to watch from the beginning of the year all the way to the end of the year and seeing this arc of learning. It truly is one of the most beautiful things to be a part of, and a huge honor, I feel, as a teacher to get to be, besides their parents, maybe one of the most impactful person for that one school year. I think they already have their personalities in many ways. I think as adults we actually learn how to maybe filter it and sort of learn how to not show it and express it as vividly. One of the joys that I had was actually teaching some students twice. And so I was their second grade teacher, and then I came back and later got to be their fifth grade teacher. And it was so fun for me because even as fifth graders, they've already sort of begun to learn how to just not show it as much and express themselves.
Taper their personality.
Yeah, but deep down, I think like that they really are themselves, and you kind of like just talk to them, and then they start expressing it more and more. And and just the things that come out of their mouths and the things that they do, it's humorous. You kind of have to laugh about it, otherwise you may cry sometimes. But I loved it. I loved working with young children because of how energetic and just full of curiosity that they are. In elementary, you get to teach everything, all the subjects, which I really enjoy because you get to see students that maybe are tentative in math but excel in reading, and you get to use their strengths and sort of build them up across the school day. So it's nice because you get to see their whole sort of self across many subjects. As a teacher, you look at all of your students and you do help them dream in a way, and you see kind of their spark and what makes them light up with excitement when they're learning something. And all of them in some way, I felt like there was always one thing that I kind of would dream for them, like, oh, this person's going to cure AIDS for us, or, this one's going to be an environmentalist for us, or this one's going to be the next Pulitzer Prize winner. I hope someday that, that I'll get to meet all of them as they grow up to become adults, and they can come back and tell me what they chose as their career, and I can be like, yeah, I called that when you were 7 years old. They always say that first year of teaching is the hardest. I always say if you can make it through your first 2 years of teaching, you'll be set for life. Because that first year, I don't think anything quite prepares you. Even the best of programs, it's so much more than just teaching. It really is, you're a psychologist, you're a therapist. I feel like you're a cheerleader. You have to learn sort of medical things in case an emergency happens, and just the types of questions that your students ask. I don't know if the audience would be familiar with the show Jeopardy! A lot of teachers end up winning this game show because they have so much knowledge about the most random things, because especially young children, they want to learn. If you're learning about insects and you're teaching the life cycle, they want to learn specifically about that one beetle, and you have no idea. But I think one of the coolest things is you can say now with technology and say, let's Google it together, or let's go to the library together and check out those books. As a teacher, I felt that there was never enough time in the day because you're with your students all day long. You have maybe a half-hour lunch break. There's sort of a joke that, even as a teacher, you can't go to the bathroom whenever you want. You have to make sure another adult can come in and quickly watch your students while you go to the restroom, or you just hold it, and then even during your lunch, it's, you're eating lunch, but maybe you have to take care of the students as well. And then you get to the end of the day, you're completely tired. You've been around 24, 30s, young kids all day. And then after that, then you have to take care of your emails, then you have to do all the grading, and then you have to plan for the next day. And I think as a first-year teacher, that's where it's overwhelming, because you can live in your classroom. There's always work to be done. And there were so many times in that first year of teaching where I drove away at the end of the school day and thought, I am never going back there ever again, with tears streaming down my eyes. And then, of course, the next morning you wake up and you go back in because you remember the kids that are there waiting for you. I would say if you are a first-year teacher, keep going. And if you know one, give them a big hug. Give them a Starbucks gift card. Give them just all the encouragement they need to keep going, because it's a lot. It's a lot of work, and I think worldwide there's not nearly enough appreciation for all that goes into teaching. I think it's a different type of work. I jokingly say when you meet someone and they say they're a teacher, if you talk to them for about 15 minutes, I can usually tell if they're elementary, middle school, or high school, depending on their personality.
Really? What's the secret there? Tell me.
I don't know. So having taught kindergarten, I taught for 2 years, and that is something else that I say, those kindergarten teachers, I respect them so deeply, because, and that's why I decided kindergarten was not for me. These kids are raw, they come in, they have no idea if they're even alive or whatever yet, and those poor kindergarten teachers, I think, do a tremendous, tremendous job for our society. Even from the beginning, is a part of the societal norms of how to behave, and what to do to walk in line, and this and that, and getting them ready for school, really. So kindergarten is a whole other just crazy place. And then I think middle school teachers I also deeply respect, where I'm sure we can all remember it's such a weird time where you're not a kid and you're not quite an adult and you're trying to be, but you still really, really want to be a kid. And
teenager
I think
process.
It's just so awkward. And usually when I taught 5th grade, by the second half of the school year, it was like, you guys need to get out of here. Like, your attitude, you just think you're too cool. And middle school teachers, I think, have a sense of hardness, sort of that hardness and that softness to kind of handle that duality of middle schoolers. And I think high school teachers, to me, are just cool. Like, I always joke that I've never been cool enough to teach high school. I think at the end of the year was always this really, really bittersweet time, and it's always sort of graduation, and so you're you're excited, you're ready in a lot of ways for your students to move on. I would always do these fun paper plate awards. For every child, I would make some type of award that could be funny, but wanting to encourage them with a specific strength of theirs. And it allowed me to reflect back on our time together as well, because, for that year, you and all 24 or 30 students share this space, and it becomes a community, and you make these norms, and you have these inside jokes, and at the end of the year, it's sort of sad. You're family in a way.
Thinking of my childhood, there were always a couple of those kids, usually boys, who would make a lot of trouble every day and who were usually being, on the top of the teachers, if I may call it a blacklist. I don't know if you would have...
We don't have blacklists. I don't know what you're talking about. For me, even so-called the troublemakers, right? Sometimes they can be the most endearing to you as a teacher because... hopefully by the end of the year, I've got them under control. Those are the ones that I tend to remember even more so because he or she and I worked so hard together during the year to finally coexist in a peaceful way. I tell people all the time that it's a job that I never realized existed as a job. I didn't think that what I could do on a day-to-day basis or what I do for a living now that I could get paid for because I would have done it for free as a volunteer, right? I think sometimes when you say education, people automatically assume teacher, and there's actually many other opportunities out there. We bring these employees from major tech corporations as pro bono volunteer workers into underserved communities that need help getting their technology infrastructure up to place, where teachers need to learn digital skills. And it becomes sort of this really cool co-learning space, right? Because a lot of times our volunteers from the tech corporations learning also from the communities that are there, and learning from the education space and all that teachers go through. I think in working with nonprofit, I've realized there's bureaucracy at all levels, and I don't know if I'm quite the type of personality that could take that. I think I get frustrated by sort of the system a lot of times. It always comes down to money, and I tend to be very idealistic. And so for me, my focus is always what is the best for the students. And unfortunately, nonprofit world, it really still on some levels boils down to money.
That's true, yes.
And
they gotta be non-profit because they can find the money somewhere else, right?
Exactly, right. So it's just a different challenge of moving money and...
I guess with more years of working in nonprofits, hopefully you will be able to find more opportunities to change that situation, to influence that situation.
Absolutely. That's my goal.
Cool.
Yeah. I would want you to take a moment and think about the most influential teacher that you ever had, and maybe take the time to go back and send a letter or an email and thank them. If you have a friend or someone that is in education, take the time to thank them, because those are the people that are sort of what I call on the ground, shaping the next generation of our world.
Thank you again for joining us today, Gail. Your story gives me a new level of understanding about education, and I hope our audience also feel the same way. Lastly, I want to say thank you to all the teachers in this world and all the nonprofits who are working on bringing education to more and more people. If you are also passionate about education, don't forget there's always volunteering opportunities. Let's do this tradition together. What it's like to work in education. DNA, get!